Hey guys, I know it's been a while. I was doing a job the other day in the shop and I wanted to take a video on it, but unfortunately we were slammed and I just couldn't take the extra time to make a video right there, as little time as that takes to take a quick photograph. So I'm using another person's video, and if that person figures out whose video it is as an illustration, then contact me and I'll take it down, remove it, whatever you want to do. But I don't think it should be an issue. It's just a still shot that I just need to illustrate the technique that I used to do this job. And the job I'm talking about is on a Subaru, all-wheel drive, of course, and it is the rear wheel bearings. I'm in Pennsylvania, so stuff gets pretty rusty around here, and these can be a pretty big issue. Now the illustration that I'm going to show you is a particularly bad one, because this guy is in New York. That might be a little hint as to who it is, but anyways, yeah, so I'm just going to show you the technique that I used, and it seemed to work out really well for me. It's the first time I've tried it this way, and it seemed to work. Of course, as usual with rust penetrating oil is going to be your friend. At our shop we use the BG Enforce, I believe it's called. We have really good luck with that, and I actually got lucky, and since we were so busy, this person dropped it off for a few days, so when I checked it out I sprayed everything down with that penetrant, and it actually sat for a couple of days. So I don't know if that helped me out, but this is the technique I used and it worked well. So yeah, I use this illustration to show you the technique that I used. Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, here's what you're usually looking at back here in a Subaru. The one I did with, I think it was an 05 Forester, but if it's an Impreza, they pretty much have this big long bolt. The bolt head's back here, and the nut, I believe, is over here for this long bolt, or it's vice versa depending which side you're looking at. Generally the bolt's going to be seized in the bushing here, it's going to be seized in this bushing over here, and a lot of times they'll be seized in the knuckle right here. The rust will swell it up and they'll get stuck in there. So this is going to be your main problem area. So before you start the job, I would go ahead and order their lateral arm bushings, front and rear lateral arm bushings. Order that and get yourself this bolt and maybe a nut. I can put the part numbers in the description on this car. I've got those at work. I'll put them in the description so you guys can have them for reference. Of course, you would want to contact your dealer. And I did find that my dealer, my Subaru dealer, they had all this stuff in stock. Because, surprise, it's a problem that they deal with a lot. So they have all these in stock, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's cheaper than the aftermarket stuff, at least from what I saw. So, of course, penetrants, spray it all in here and here, and the air hammer is going to be your friend for this job. I would get your air hammer, kind of work this area here and here with your air hammer a little bit. Don't go crazy because you don't want to pinch it in even tighter. You just kind of want to knock all the rust off of here, and you want to try and free up the bolt inside of these bushings here. So kind of work this with your air hammer a little bit to try and break up the rust with your penetrant. Get on the bolt head with the impact on whichever side the bolt head as this long bolt is, and just kind of go back and forth that, hit it for a while to try and break up some of that rust. Then let's see here. What I ended up doing is, because the bolt wouldn't turn because it was froze up in the bushings here and in the knuckle, both spots. I loosened the nut up until I had kind of a cup for my air hammer. Had a bit and it kind of fit right in the end of the on the end of the nut and the bolt, so it wouldn't kind of go off kilter. There's a little cup for it to sit in, and I got a ratchet strap and ratcheted it around the control arms here, because what's going to happen is you're going to hit with your air hammer and it's going to come out of this bushing. It should come out pretty easily, but then what's going to happen is this bushing over here, it's just going to want to move this way with the bolt. So to prevent that, you wrap the ratchet strap or a chain. You're going to tie these two arms together, so when you're pushing the bolt through, this arm is going to be held here and it's not going to push this way, and that'll help push the bolt out of here. And that's what I did, and that's what seemed to work. Now of course you may have to hit this up, and you'll see it should start moving with your air hammer. And really, if you don't have an air hammer, this probably isn't going to work. With a regular hammer, you just don't have enough force and blows going in at the same time to break it up and really force it out this way. There's a couple other techniques. This is the one that I've never seen anyone do it this way with the ratchet strap around. I mean, I would try that for a while. The Subaru dealership, they do keep these knuckles in stock because, I mean, especially this example here, there's usually a pretty big gap and the rust has kind of filled it in. But if you start hitting this with your air hammer, all this rust is going to flake away. It should flake away, and you shouldn't have too much problem. But all this is a measure to save you from having to possibly replace these bushings. They're like, I think they're like 15 bucks or something from a dealer a piece. I mean, that's cheap insurance. Using the technique that I just showed you with the ratchet strap and the air hammer, pushing the bolt through, that should free it up as long as it's not real bad. But if it is real bad, what you're going to end up doing is getting a Sawzall. And what you're going to do is you're basically just going to cut it off flush here with the bushing. You're going to stick your Sawzall, saw the bolt off there. You're going to carefully take your Sawzall and just go right down the rubber here and cut that off. And then same thing over here. Get your blade in there, cut it, and you might even have to cut the bolt head off, either with a cutting torch or with your Sawzall. Cut the bolt head off, and then you can get all the suspension out of the way and knock out directly with the air hammer this bolt here. And if you can't get it out of there, you're going to have to replace the knuckle. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It wouldn't be too bad of a job, because to press the bearing out, all this stuff has to come out anyways. So what am I trying to say here? So yeah, if you can't get the bolt to slide out whichever way it comes out with the air hammer, you'll have to cut these and then press out your bushings or burn them out, whichever you feel like doing. If you're going to burn them out with a torch, it's going to be a stinky mess, because burning rubber is lovely. You press the bushings out, press the new ones in, get your new bolt and lube everything up. I would grease everything up or whatever you want to do to prevent rust again. And the way I have a hub tamer kit at my shop, so I didn't have to actually remove the entire knuckle from the car. I just was able to pull it out, get your CV axle out of the way, so you can do work and get the bushing, get the bearing pressed out like a normal bearing, any other normal press-in bearing with the hub tamer kit. I highly recommend that kit. It makes this job easy. You just have to have some common sense when using that tool. I use gear lube on the threads as lubrication, because it's a very high pressure lubricant. Engine oil or any other lighter oil just doesn't, and the threads wear way a lot faster, and that the threads on the forcing screw are not warranted on that tool. Everything else is, I believe, except for the forcing screw. So use some heavy gear lube, and the threads will last a lot longer on that hub tamper tool. That's a little tip that I have figured out over the years using that. I think that pretty much covers it as far as this Subaru rear wheel bearing, the press-in type. Any other questions on this job or stuff I didn't cover, send me a comment down below. I'm usually pretty quick to answer comments because notifications come straight to my phone unless I'm super busy at work or something with the family. Yeah, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Any other suggestions for repair videos or something you want me to go over, comment that down below as well. I also have the Facebook page, Cars, Guitars, and Other Man Stuff. Search that on Facebook. I'll have the link in the subscription, most likely in the comments below, and I'll have that. Yeah, hope this tip helps you guys out. Yeah, I will talk to you guys later. All right, take care.